Hey, what's up? And welcome into Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. Thanks so much for downloading the podcast and checking me out on YouTube, youtube.com. Look for Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment to everything that we do here on Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. If you are a Chicago baseball fan, you had to love today because today was the trade deadline day in Major League Baseball. And it's so rare because usually in this situation, one team's selling off parts, and the other one's trying to add on. But because we have two teams, the Cubs and the White Sox, that are doing really well this season, we're going to see them both in the playoffs. I kind of know that the Sox and Cubs somehow are going to get to the playoffs. The Cubs maybe via the wild card and maybe the Sox, but they've had the first place spot for a while here. So this has been a very interesting day at the deadline. So both teams made some really solid moves, I believe. From the White Sox standpoint, they need to add on starting pitching. And so even though I like Sean Burke and I like Davis Martin, they had to have a veteran arm. And so they got Luis Castillo, who hasn't had a good year, but I mean, in a playoff scenario, here's a guy here with some expertise, has some talent. I think that he can work well for the White Sox. The key to that is that they were able to make a few deals here to make sure that Luis Castillo is on the team. So I like that. Brazoban is a hard-throwing righty for the Chicago White Sox coming out of that bullpen. The bullpen's good, but they need to add some spice. Now that Dominguez is no longer with the White Sox and his salary and his carcass is now with Seattle, it's time to find something else. And so Brazoban is part of this team as well, so I think that that's great. Do you want to get better at your catcher position? And so they were able to lock in Joey Bart from the Atlanta Braves, and also Brenton Doyle is part of the team as a fast, really good Gold Glove outfielder for the White Sox. So I think from that standpoint, that was good. I have one question, though, for Chris Getz, the general manager for the White Sox. One question. And the question is, was there a deal in place in which teams were asking for your top 10 prospects, and did you say no? Because out of all of the moves that were made by the White Sox, which were fine, I thought they had a B- to C+ performance as far as the deadline trades are concerned. Was it a situation where Chris Getz just wasn't going to part with any of his young assets? Because to me, this is an American League that the White Sox can win. Will they win it? Maybe, maybe not. But the point is, though, is that you've seen the Sox against the Rays. You've seen them against the Yankees. You've seen them against the Twins and the Cleveland Guardians. It's a very good team. And it's a team that should realize that, hey, I'm not saying to trade everybody out of the farm system. However, I think it's important for the White Sox to look and see where they are. And they're ahead of schedule, sure. And if you trade some minor league prospects to be able to get not necessarily rentals, but some controllable assets, starting pitching for one, right? Like the Sox and Skubal are not a match. That wasn't going to happen. But controllable assets and arms that you could depend on, veteran arms to mix with the young talent, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. To hold on to the prospects is one thing. But what if you fall short in the playoffs and you could have been able to significantly upgrade your starting rotation or your relief corps? I just feel like they're good with Grant Taylor as the closer, and they like their bullpen. And I like it too. But I just think that sometimes you just have to wonder, could this be the year? Maybe not World Series for the White Sox, but I mean, you are ahead of schedule. So why not try to accelerate that even more by being able to add some veteran talent? So I have no problem necessarily with Luis Castillo being part of the team because I think he can be, at this time, the third starter for this White Sox team. I think it's going to be a battle between him and Davis Martin, quite frankly. But I see that the Sox were able to get something very quality out of the bullpen in Brazoban, which is great. I understand that the catching position has been really sour. As a matter of fact, Edgar Carroll was sent back to the minor leagues. So it's Romo and now Bart as the catching core. You need to get something out of that position, some kind of offense. I want them to control the game from a defensive standpoint, but as far as the offense, you got to get something out of that. It just can't just be the dregs. It's the worst catching position in the big leagues at this time. If Bart hits 215, it's better because the other two are just not doing anything offensively. So I'm glad they were able to address that, got a bullpen arm, got a starter, and so we'll just see what happens. But I do wonder, from Chris Gett's standpoint, what was a bridge too far for him that he could not trade one of his top 10 prospects? Because maybe that could have made the difference of someone that could really step in there and be a cornerstone along with this young talent. One thing I keep reading about on my social media and here on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe to this video and subscribe to everything we do on Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. One thing I keep reading about is, well, you just can't get rid of your young prospects. And I'm just like, I know there's a lot of minor league baseball fans, and you understand this minor league talent is either going to play for the ball club or it's going to be traded. And I'm not one to prospect hug. I'm trying to see another World Series before I'm gone. I saw it in 2005, which is awesome, but I want the Sox to contend, spend money, but I want them to be able to be in the World Series or at least close to it again. And so, I just wonder, if you hold on to these prospects and there may not be baseball in 2027, what's the point? I think at some point you can't be completely all in because the team is good as far as trading away valuable assets to the team that's on the lineup every day or is pitching every day. But there's nothing wrong with being able to look at it and say, okay, we can part with some prospects here so we can get better. I see Pereira, by the way, was released by the White Sox as well. That was interesting. What was your favorite at bat for his 0 for 20? Yeah, they released him, and I was surprised by that. But the Chicago White Sox, though, they made their moves, and I think that that's pretty solid. But I think that one of the big winners of the deadline is the Chicago National League Ball Club, the Chicago Cubs. If you're a Cubs fan, you should be celebrating today. And you know why? Is because Jed Hoyer, the general manager for the Chicago Cubs, who I've been kicking his ass for a while now, actually picked up the phone and dialed. And he dialed and he dialed and he took care of this rotation. And that is a love letter to you, the Cub fan. Also, that is a positive for that locker room that says we're good, but we got to get past the Brewers. We got to get past the Braves. We got to be able to match up as close as possible to the Dodgers. We want to be one of those teams that's at the end for the National League pennant. And I think that Jed Hoyer tried to do that here with the new Chicago Cubs pitchers with Kevin Gausman and Clay Holmes. I think that those are savvy moves to try to upgrade that starting rotation. They got Zephyrhan as well. Wait till Cub fans see Ryan Zephyrhan. That guy's nasty. Coming out of the bullpen. Oh, boy. Wait till you see this guy. He's really good. And Braxton Garrett is part of this team as well. I think it's more the future than the present for Garrett. But I want you to just think about the two pitchers I just mentioned with Kevin Gausman, who has not had a great year, 4 ERA, underwater from a one-loss record standpoint, but he can eat innings, and I think that he can get outs. That's for sure. Now, he's not good against the Cubs because we've seen the Cubs beat him like a seal. That's for sure. But as far as the experience of Kevin Gausman, what he was able to do in the postseason for the Blue Jays, yeah, that's exactly what the Cubs need. So those two pitchers, along with Matthew Boyd and with Shota Imanaga and David Peterson and Colin Ray and Javier Assad and Edward Cabrera, who will be coming back from injury. Ben Brown, I think, will be out for the rest of the year. Cade Horton, is out for this year and next year. Justin Steele may not be available at all this year. But my point is that it's those guys, those starters, or long relievers. And then Palencia will return as a closer. There's Phil Maton, who will return at some point, and Thielbar, and Hobie Milner, and Jacob Webb. Let me just tell you, you went from who's going to pitch to where do they fit? Seriously. Somebody said earlier today that there's a possibility like some of these guys that's in the bullpen now, you could DFA a lot of those guys because you're going to have a conga line of Cubs pitchers and live arms that'll be ready for September and for the September push. It's a far cry from what they were, and looking at them now, that's pretty strong from the Chicago Cubs. I want to give Jed Hoyer all his flowers because he made some savvy moves and didn't have to tear apart his farm system to do it either. So I like the things that the Cubs did because after all these years of just saying, well, we misjudged the market and making all these excuses and Cubs-splaining, finally Jed got off his ass and was aggressive to be able to make sure that they got something. Now here, neither team was going to be into the sweepstakes of Tarek Skubal. That wasn't going to happen. As a matter of fact, the Cubs were out on that early. I think they made a pitch, and they're like, no, that deal's too light. But the Cubs went through the margins and was able to find starting pitching. And so let me just tell you, if no one else has told you about the Cubs, here's what I think. I think that the pressure now is on the offense. It's on the offense. It's on the offense to be able to now stay consistent. This has been a crazy Six Flags Great America ride for the Chicago Cubs, up and down and up and down. 10-game winning streak, 10-game losing streak, another long losing streak, another win. I mean, it's a long season, so you're going to have ups and downs, but the Cubs have had so many violent swings as a ball club. The amount of losses and like that losing against the Yankees 2 out of 3. It's just kind of like, okay, so who are you? Hopefully the moves for the Cubs will solidify them so they can further identify who they are. So to me, now that Jed's made these moves, now this is on Bregman and PCA, Ian Happ and Suzuki. And it's on this offensive weaponry that sometimes gets hot and sometimes just goes away. It's up to those guys, the main meaty part of the lineup. They've got to be able to carry this thing now because the pitching is there. The length is there. It's a lot that the Cubs have from a pitching standpoint, relievers and starters. So now what's the offense going to do about it? That's the big deal there. Also, I want to talk to you about Tarek Skubal. Lastly, Tarek Skubal, now a Los Angeles Dodger. And I see this on my social media, and I see this from talk show hosts across the country about, oh, the Dodgers have ruined baseball. The Dodgers have ruined baseball. Tarek Skubal is no longer the Detroit Tiger. And the Tigers, I mean, you would think they would have got a better deal. You think they would have just held up everybody to get the best deal, but they traded him to the Los Angeles Dodgers. I have zero issue with the Los Angeles Dodgers in the way that they do business. I have no problem with the Dodgers. Here's why I don't have a problem with the Dodgers is because if this was your favorite team, you'd love this. If this was your favorite team, wherever you're watching this from, think about your favorite baseball team. Imagine if you had an ownership that can get anything that they want. They can make any trade that they want. They can stockpile talent. They can hide talent and yet still be the best team in Major League Baseball. I want you to think about that. If that was your team, would you say this is bad for the sport? I can't be a fan of the Brewers. I can't be a fan of the Diamondbacks. I can't be a Phillies fan because we're taking all the talent. I can't be a Marlins fan. We have all the talent. This doesn't work for me. Could you imagine? So I think there's a lot of jealousy. I won't use the word hate because it's overused. But I think there's a lot of jealousy amongst baseball fans that say, how come my ownership can't spend? Well, it can. It sure could if they wanted to. But see, the Dodgers are just smart. The Dodgers are smart because they were the first one to have a good quality TV deal with their RSNs. That's number one. Number two, they are able to develop talent. That's something that's not talked about. It's like they just buy everybody, but their minor league talent's good too. They foster that minor league talent and put it on the big league club or trade it to be able to get more. The other thing is that this generation of young players across sports want to increase their chances to win a championship. There's not going to just be a guy that's planting roots. There's very few guys that just want to plant roots and just say, you know what, I'm just going to be here in Kansas City as a Kansas City Royal. And I'm going to be here for the rest of my life. I don't want to go anywhere else. I just want to be a Kansas City Royal because one day we're going to win the World Series championship. That doesn't happen in 2026. You know, Tarek Skubal knew, even though he had a lot of success with the Detroit Tigers, he knew that Tigers would not have the commitment to winning to get the Tigers in a position to win the World Series championship. Tarek can't do it by himself. You need offense. You need pitching. You need relief pitching. You need a farm system. You need a owner that's willing to spend. That wasn't happening here in the Midwest. That wasn't happening for the Detroit Tigers. So he went to the Dodgers. And so we're going to see him this week against the Cubs. And I don't blame the Dodgers. They should just keep going. The other thing is that if I'm the Dodgers, I don't mind being the heel. I don't mind having the black hat. I wouldn't give a shit. I would just continue to be in the mix for the World Series championship. They've won back-to-back championships. They can win 3 in a row based on its talent. But I would just say that from a business standpoint, if you hate what they do, then you should try to push your ownership to be able to spend more wherever you're watching this from. But the notion that, well, the Dodgers are bad for baseball, well, we got a strike coming up. We're going to see what the floor and ceilings look like for salaries. But in the meantime, and in between time, the Dodgers are doing what's best for them. All I've ever asked for on the radio for years is commitment to winning for our teams in Chicago. Commitment to winning. That means spend money. That means cultivate talent, have a good farm system, and have a good ownership, and do things the right way. That's all I've ever asked, is for that to happen. And when you know what the Dodgers have done, the Dodgers have been able to swing in baseball's hammock, nice and comfortable, swinging back and forth, happy, because they can continue to get the best talent possible, because players want to play there. Tarek didn't request to go to the Dodgers. It was the best deal that was possible. So when we say the Dodgers just spend money like drunken sailors, and they don't, they're doing it the right way. They're doing the way that we'd want for our teams. Could you imagine, as a Sox fan, for me, if Jerry Reinsdorf spent like that? Now, here's the thing. It's not the elixir to everything, because the Mets, they spent a ton of money, and they aren't any good at all. They sold off parts, as you well know. But when it comes to Tarek Skubal or Kyle Tucker or all these other guys, hey, they're all part of something special, a well-run organization, the best run organization in baseball, the Dodgers. And if you're jealous of it, go cry about it. But for me, I know my team will never be able to be anywhere where the Dodgers are. That's owned by the Ishbias or the guy from Walmart. I don't think we'll ever be able to spend the money that the Dodgers are spending. But don't worry. If you're pissed at the Dodgers, you're going to get a lockout. There's going to be a strike. There's going to be a floor and a ceiling for some of these teams that have to spend. And guess what? The Dodgers will still be in the mix. A full house every night. Tickets are sold. People watch it on TV on their RSN. I've been to Dodger Stadium. It's a tremendous place to watch a ball game. And more than likely, when you go to a Dodger game, you're going to see your team win at home. Them the breaks. That's Dodgers baseball. And that's Major League Baseball at large. Why can't your favorite team be able to come close to that? Oh, by the way, I have this prediction for you as well. When it comes to the Dodgers, as I mentioned, I don't hate the Dodgers. Why would I do that? But I think that the Dodgers won't win the World Series this year. It's not because of talent. They got plenty of that, as we just documented. It's plenty. I can go through that roster. It's an embarrassment of riches. I think that the Dodgers, kind of like an NBA team, will start running out of gas. Meaning that, hey, they've had the spring training and they've had the regular season and they've had these playoff runs that last a long time, deep into October, into November. They've done it back-to-back years. And at some point, the power gets shut off. And no matter how talented the team is, sometimes, if you see it in basketball, you just don't have it. They could have, and probably should have lost to the Toronto Blue Jays this past World Series championship. But it didn't happen. Maybe this year it happens. If you're asking me, Jonathan Hood, I'll tell you, I'll take the field over the Dodgers this year. But if the Dodgers win, I'm not hating on them. It's just what it is. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe, and comment to everything we do here on Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood, brought to you by Alexander James Whiskey. Alexander James Whiskey, the whiskey of choice of yours truly, Jonathan Hood. Click the link. Find out where you can find Alexander James Whiskey. Jesse Stewart is the actual steward of Alexander James Whiskey. He supports our show and our podcast and Under the Hood, and I want you to support him as well for everything that he does. Hey, check it out, especially if you're a whiskey drinker or if you know someone that loves the spirits. Make sure you check out Alexander James Whiskey. I hope that you've enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for your support. We're growing every day, and we've got some new innovations happening with Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. Got some new shows coming up for the summer and into the fall. So I hope that you enjoy. It's Under the Hood with Jonathan Hood. Our flow chart is growing. We'll tell you more about it. Stay tuned. So long, everybody.